Rick.
It's all coming down. The statement shot, the who's the bitch shot.
Rick Rubin is perhaps one of the most successful producers of all time, who has produced countless hits in the past couple of decades.
Do you know how to work a soundboard?
No. I have no technical ability, and I know nothing about music.
But is Rubin as naive to the music creation process as he claims to be? Or behind each of his records, is there a formula and sound he's curated over the past couple of decades? Rubin's early career started out as an actual beatmaker, cranking out a number of beats to support the artists on his label.
Yeah, we would go down to Rick's dorm room and meet, and Rick Rubin had a drum machine called a Roland 808.
But as Rick Rubin's career began to grow, he found himself less into the technical aspects of the production and more as an overseer of the entire process. Rick found himself setting up on the couch, which became the new position where he would run the session from. And fast forward from his initial years in New York and LA, Rick had evolved into this larger-than-life producer figure and spiritual guide for artists.
It's worth pursuing even though you don't like it, but I would rewrite all the words. I think the pre-chorus and chorus musically and melodically are really strong.
And seeing that he spent most of his career on a couch, Rubin became known as more of a musical therapist. But this was part of his genius, as Rick used his position to draw more out of artists.
He would sometimes be like, go further, go harder, like go more intense, more deranged. And I was like, okay.
As a counselor, Rubin could approach the project from an outside perspective and give artists the appropriate feedback they needed to complete the project.
I would draw you out further and just ask questions to really understand. And if you say, or if you say something that that somehow triggers me in a way that's I wonder how he came to that. I wouldn't challenge you. I would ask, like, oh, how did you find that? How did you get to that place?
We played it for Rick and he was like listening. He listened like 3 times in a row and he was like, this song makes me feel orange. And I was like, what? And he was like, it makes me feel orange. And then I was like, oh, well, what do we need to do to fix it? And he goes, you'll figure it out. And then he walked out of the room.
But despite Rick Rubin having an open and carefree mindset, that wasn't to say he hadn't developed a system and sound that worked for him.
The less elements you have, you can hear each of the ones that are there, and they can sound better. And the less there are, the more space they could have around them, and the more you can hear their personality.
And capturing the personality of a band was a huge deal for Rubin, which meant capturing the band in performance as it is. But because Rubin took such an honest approach to recording, there was no room for fixes after. So getting his sound right at the source was extremely important, which meant Rubin was very particular about which studios and rooms he worked out of. And when it came to recording equipment, Rubin had a very strong preference for Neve consoles. So much so that Rick began hoarding these consoles, and when it came time to do the final mix for Rick Rubin's projects, there was very little to do. And Rubin hated additional effects. And this fed into one of Rubin's biggest policies, which was his lack of artificial reverb in his recordings.
Whatever the thing in front of you is, make it sound a good version of what that is. In a way that goes to the vocal not having reverb. It's like, what does his voice really sound like? And how do we put it up front where it feels like he's singing into your ear? And really hear, like sometimes you can even hear him breathing or a mouth pop. Not looking for perfection so much as looking for reality and getting closer to who he is.
Despite people's views of Rick Rubin, he still has one of the most solid track records in the music industry and has produced countless hits, even leading up till today, and is still employed by the biggest artists to help finish their records.
You may have to rewrite the third verse after this because you just took it, the whole song just went like this.
And while Rubin might not be as hands-on with the beat making and production as he once was, he has definitely evolved into a unique role that no one else can hold. And for that reason, he's definitely one of music's most legendary and well-known producers.